Welcome to Sunday Soul, a soulful conversation to start your week. Because I'm your host, Rachel Joy Baribeau, but if you wait until Monday to get your mind right, to get your soul right, you've waited too long. So Sunday is a great day to have these conversations. And I met this powerhouse when I lived in Nashville. And I just absolutely loved her. And we run in some of the same circles, and I am so honored. We have so many things to jump into and dive into today, but so honored today to bring you Miss Leah Turner for our Sunday Soul conversation. Hello, Leah. How are you?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. And I love that it's Sunday Soul because there's a lot of souls that need to be touched and loved on and reached out to. So I'm really excited to be a part of Sunday Soul.
Okay, so let's just start here. How did you get into the music business, particularly the country music business? And one thing I also love about you is I always thought I have a deep voice and like a raspy voice, like you and I, we both of us, like, I love it. I don't know that I've met somebody else that has even raspier voice and more beautiful voice. So I love that about you.
Well, thank you. My mom has a raspy voice and all of my aunts have this raspy voice. And it was funny. I was with my cousin the other day who now has his own children and he has this raspy little voice. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it runs in the family. So thank God whoever gave us this raspy voice because it sets us apart. So I'm super grateful. Some people are like, how many cigarettes and whiskey have you drank? I'm like, well, let's not talk about the whiskey. No cigarettes, but let's not talk about the whiskey. So I'm grateful for that. I got into music. Geez, I don't ever remember not being in music. I don't ever remember it not being a part of my household. A part of like the very thread that runs through me. My mom can sing, my nana can sing, all the aunts and uncles on my mom's side, they sing. So it's always just kind of been around in who I am. And then my dad can't sing. I mean, he can carry a tune, but he's not a singer. But he has such a love for music and all different genres of music that it's always kind of just been implemented into my life. And one day on a Sunday, when I was about 6 years old, I was driving in the backseat of my mom and dad's truck, driving back from church. And I started, singing this song. And my mom said, Mija, what is that? And I was like, oh, just a song that I wrote. And she was like, what? You wrote a song? And I didn't even realize that like songs could be written. I didn't even really know what I was doing. I just knew that I had some emotions and I had a little melody and some lyrics that came together. And that was really the start of this crazy road and exhilarating road that I'm walking down.
Okay, so you are going to sing for us.
I am
in this episode, and I'm so excited. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's do it. Let's go for it because I could sit here and talk you up and talk about all these how wonderful you are and how amazing you are. I've seen you live. But I want my audience to see you, and then we'll dive into some of the deeper issues that make you you, and some of the things that I think you're tackling right now that need to be tackled.
Right. Just a little bit of a background on this song is I'm half Mexican, and my dad is white. I'm second generation Mexican American. My mom's first generation. And I've always wanted to kind of implement those roots, those Latina roots, Latino roots into country music. And so I'm getting that opportunity now to be able to do that. And so this is a song that I wrote about my parents' love. It's like an homage to my parents' love because my dad's a cowboy. He's a real cowboy in the rodeo. And him and my mom got married in a time that those two worlds didn't come together.
Okay.
And so we shot this music video in Rosarito on my aunt and uncle's house and where they were. And it was just a big family affair. And so it's called Once Upon a Time in Mexico. And it's when a vaquero falls in love with a señorita. And it may work out, it may not work out. I mean, of course, we took poetic license, and kind of made it not so directly to them. But it's just talking about how two loves come together when maybe they shouldn't, or they're said not to.
Okay. So, I'm already tearing up. Happy tears. I cannot wait.
So this is called Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and I'll sing it in half Spanish and half English. The English version is fully out, and then the Spanish version comes out at the, we're going to release it September, whatever, for Hispanic Heritage Month. And I was able to have an incredible artist and producer. He's won 16 Grammys, and he's from Spanish Harlem, and I think he's Cuban. I think he's Cuban, but we did this together, just the Spanish version. And so I'll kind of go back, and then he's featured on it, and his voice is insane. Lord Almighty. So in English, it's Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and in Spanish, it's Érase una vez en México. La luna in the sky, sipping on a red pasado line, beating out so low the tide, living of the waves on the tide. Could have been the sand, the mariachi man, could have been the way he said my name. Heat on my skin when he pulled me in, as he whispered, bésame, bajo la luna bailando, enamoré tu vaquero, una vez en México. Some love's fade and some love's gone, some love stories won't let go, una vez en México. I can feel his hands on my hips, feel love strong and those a kiss. Every summer night out there in the mist, and I still wonder where he is. It could have been the sand, the mariachi band, could have been the way he said my name. Heat on my skin when he pulled me in, as he whispered, bésame. We danced until the moonlit dark, and I fell for a vaquero. Once upon a time in Mexico. Some love's fade and some love's gone, some love stories won't let go. Once upon a time in Mexico. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Hace una vez en México, bajo la luna bailando, enamoré tu vaquero. Hace una vez en México, me caíste del cielo, te fuiste sin decir adiós. Hace una vez en México. Once upon a time in Mexico.
Oh my gosh. My little Mexican heart. Actually, my big Mexican heart. I'm
exactly.
Exactly. So first, and so many things. Where do I even start? You have been the voice for so many people. You've recently been in the media talking about being Latin, being in country music, having a voice, being representative for Latins all over this country, all over the world, in country music, those that love them. How did that happen, and how did you pick up the mantle and be representative for so many people?
I have been trying since I got to Nashville, wanting to bring the Latino roots into country music. Because if you really know your history, vaqueros were the first cowboys, right? So everything that the American cowboy, their traditions come from Spain down to northern Mexico, down to Texas, to New Mexico, and then to California. And so for me, there is such a love affair that country music has with the Hispanic culture, with the Mexicano culture, with the Latino culture, that it's a beautiful thing. But there is actually no representation of the actual people whose culture it is. And so about 3 years ago, I just was like, okay, I'm just doing this because it's not me being like, oh, I this is not politically correct at all, but it's not like all of a sudden I'm coming out of the Mexican closet, like, oh, surprise, I'm Mexican, you know what I mean? Orale, it's not. I've always, implemented it and always one of those flamenco guitars and always just, there's an ache within a voice that comes from that Mexicano culture that I inhibit, and oh my goodness, sorry.
You're okay.
Oh shoot. Do you guys,
this is completely off the cuff. People love real. People love live. We generally don't edit. Emma is amazing. And so people love to see real. You keep going, Leah.
Well, it's so funny. Do you know who Mickey Guyton is?
Yes, love Mickey.
Well, that's my best, like my sister. And so she's calling, she's called 3 times and I'm like, decline. So she's probably like, I don't know. But anyways, so, for me, I just said, I'm going to do this. So I put out a song called Blah, 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 and I put it out in English. And then I did the Vaquera remix, and then it was all in Spanish. And so it's just kind of, snowballed into a place of where I've been able to be on that forefront and representing a culture that's already been represented, but not by the actual people whose culture it is. So it's very exciting for me to be able to really be that culture. I'm a real cowgirl and I'm really second generation Mexican American, and it's bring those two worlds together is exciting.
Okay, so I have to tell you a story about Mickey now that she's called 3 times, and you can tell her this story, and it's a miraculous story. So Mickey is friends with a friend of mine, and we went to church together. I picked her and another friend, I think it was Joanna, and some different people. So I pick them all up. Yep. And I pick them up, and we go to church, and we're in my Tahoe, and it's an older Tahoe, and we're driving home, and everybody's talking, and we're having a great time. Right. And in front of us, Leah, I can be right back there when this happened. Mickey's in the back seat behind me. A weed eater falls off the truck in front of us. We all start screaming. And I know I have angels. Both my parents are in heaven, like my grandma, like I've got a lot of people in heaven. Right. And it was almost as if, Leah, a force field was around our car, and the thing bounced in front of my car, followed the invisible shield up over my car, and then bounced off the roadway. This is on the interstate. Okay. So you're going 75, 80 miles an hour. And so one police teller, I said hello, went to church with her, and Jesus definitely had us after church that day as we almost got killed by a weed eater, but we didn't. We had angels.
But we didn't. Yeah. Angels are, I got the chills. Angels are a definite real thing. And my mom always said, your angels must have broken wings and tattoo. I mean, I don't have any tattoos, but just like, she's like, your angels must be just living their best life.
Yes.
Because, the things that you get encountered with and that you go through and that you've dodged is an incredible thing that you can't deny that there is protection out there.
Okay, so Leah, let's talk about, we're always real here on Sunday Soul and in the movement. I'm changing narrative. Like, so the feedback you've gotten, I'd love to know first some of the greatest feedback you've gotten. Like, thank you for representing, thank you for being a voice. And then listen, I'm a girl who gets the popcorn and reads the comments. And I was told when I got into media, don't read your own comments, but you're good. I'll see how you respond to people, but then I'll be protective of my friends. And so you have been so great. I'd love to know the positive, and then some of the people that say, why does it matter? And you're like, it does matter. It absolutely matters.
Right. A lot of it's reassuring to me. Well, one, because I look white, I came out blonde hair, blue eyed, and lighter skinned. If you put me next to a full white girl, you're like, oh, okay, you're dark,
Yeah.
But I came out that way because my grandfather is from Spain. And so on my mom's side, even my uncle, Daniel, God rest his soul, he's in heaven, he had blue eyes, So we took on that European side of that. So a lot of times it's like, oh, well, you're not Latina enough, you're not Mexicana enough, you're not this, you're not that. And I'm like, listen, I'm not from Mexico, but my family is. I am half white. I'm second generation Mexican American, but because my father is educated on where his traditions came from, being a cowboy, I've always lived life through incredible, diverse eyes, and incredible, colorful eyes. So there's been mixed reviews that come through. It's sometimes, from the counterparts of, lack of a better word, all the really white people that are, why are you making it about race? Like, why is this? Why is that? And my response is, listen, Mexicanos, Latinos, we are hard workers. We are not victims. But when you are told to not show a side, because you don't know how it's going to be accepted, that's the problem. I understand that there's norteño. I understand there's tejano. I understand there's ranchera. I understand that, but in the mainstream country, which is what I am, there is a lack of representation by the real Latinos, So I always just hit them with facts and no emotion.
Yes.
I just take the emotion out of it because they just need to be educated. When you live in a tunnel vision and you live in a bubble and you're only used to one thing, change is hard because change means growing, and growing pains hurt.
Yes.
So they do. And it's, do you want to put the work in? And it doesn't mean that one's better than the other. It doesn't mean that I'm not grateful that, country music has had a love affair with the Latino, Hispanic, Mexicano culture for a very long time. I love that. I love that that's how cool this culture is, And then, I was talking to one of the guys that when I'm in California, he plays for me. And his name is Art, but it's really Arturo Padilla. And I'm going to do a cover of Besame Mucho and put it on my EP. And that was my Nana's favorite song. So I'm going to do a cover of that. And so I said, if I'm going to be about bringing Latinos in, I'm going to be about bringing Latinos in, So I brought them in, and it really was very encouraging to me. He said, first and foremost, Leah, I just want to say thank you for putting kind of your neck on the line. For me, I'm like, I'm tough. I'm half Mexican. I've been raised by a cowboy. Come at me, because I got facts and I got Jesus on my side. Let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, give me your best shot, It's great. But he just said, like, you're starting the conversation. You're giving us a voice. And for me, I just want to say thank you. And we are all so proud of you. And right there, I was just like, wow, like it made me cry. I was just said, Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for being open enough and vulnerable enough to say that to me. And I'm grateful, and I'm going to keep going and pushing it out there, because we are country music.
Yes. And wow, so many feels all up in my feels. And once when I saw you really on the forefront of this and being so bold and so brave, it touched my soul. So my grandmother was from Mexico. And then her grandfather was from, we thought her grandfather, my mom did a lot of the lineage work before she passed. We thought that they were from Spain, but it turns out that they were actually Jewish. And we were in Spain masquerading as Spaniards, but we were Jewish. And then the craziest part of it is that my whole life, my mom had gone on a cruise, and they went to a Mayan village. And the cruise director talked about, Leah, every so many hundreds of years, there's a spot on a baby. And depending on where you are in the world, it's indigenous to different cultures. Well, my mom finally got the genealogy test. And so we had always thought we were Mayan. We're 11% Mayan. So
wow.
Just insane. And so I guess this fight that I keep saying it's a fight, but this crusade, this movement, what you're doing, who you're speaking for,
right.
It matters so much to me, because so my grandmother was here and she came over here. She was very young. She did not know the language. She had children young, and she was just trying to assimilate. And so she didn't pass the language down to my mom. And my mom didn't pass it down to me. So I'm going to cry, but I am proudly Hispanic, but I can't speak the language. And one of my goals this year before the end of the year is to learn it, I've worked on it on and off over the years. I've been immersed, done all those things. But I get what you're saying about you're not a this enough, and you don't speak the language, so you're not. Right. And so, yes, I identified with what you're doing, and I identified with who you're speaking for, because you're speaking for me. People don't, people can't figure out. They're like, what are you? Like I've had people ask me, they're like, are you Italian, or you're gypsy? Like, what are you? And I'm
Greek.
Like, but I'm like,
are you Greek? Right.
I'm a lot of things, but so, and I said this to you when we were talking about doing this, being proudly Latina, but not having a Latina last name, not having a Mexican, And so I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I know there's so many people like me that feel the exact same way, that maybe don't feel. And that's also a message that women get. So this kind of goes over to everybody. The not enough. You're not enough of this. Whatever enough is you hear, we get the you're not enough message from the world, from media, from music, from our parents, from our cultures, from our, families. And so I think what you're doing is you're busting down all those barriers, sweet Leah.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. And I always just try and say, stand in your truth. And the people that are supposed to be a part of your tribe, in a sense, if you're the best you that you can be, those people will all fall in. If you're the biggest butthead, be the biggest butthead you can be, and all those buttheads will fall into line. If you're the biggest, whatever. Just be the best version of you, who you can be, and you're gonna find that tribe, and you're gonna fall into line. And you may also, say things and inspire somebody to be able to stand in their truth, so they can find their tribe, so then they can fall in line, so they can be the best version of themselves, so they can be, even if they don't identify with what your story is, or they don't identify what your heritage is, or whatever, you can hopefully inspire, saying, listen, like, I am blonde hair, blue-eyed, raised by a cowboy, half Mexican, bilingual, sing country music. Woo-hoo! Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it get any more? So I just hope to inspire people to be the best version of them, and really look within and really just deal with what's inside of them, and also embrace the skin that God gave them.
Yes.
Whether it is big boobs that you have no idea what to do with, you know what I mean? Seriously, you have lighter skin than you're expected to have. You have darker skin than you're expected to have. You can't get that 6-pack stomach, but you got great legs.
Yep.
You don't have big enough lips, but you have incredible hair, or this or that, or your heart is as big as Texas.
Woo!
Just embrace the skin that God gave you, and also embrace, and it's kind of a hard thing to do, being raised Christian, but embrace the sexuality and the sensuality that God gave you, because nothing is wrong with loving and feeling beautiful and feeling like I am sexy. I mean, I am loving what I'm working with. Nothing is wrong with that. So just embrace it all. And that goes back to just standing in your truth and being the best version of you.
Okay, Leah. Okay, for you, I need to bring you on the road with me to one of my talks, because everything that I talk about in the movement, I'm changing the narrative. Good love for yourself and then others. There was a point in time in my life where I did not truly love myself deep down. And I'm not talking about your eyebrows or your hair. I'm talking about my soul. I wasn't proud of my soul. I didn't love and value myself. So what was in my cup, then I was going and kind of spilling on people when I got bumped. And that whole message of embracing who you are and loving who you are, and truly and deeply. And that's what I do now. And it allows me to look in the mirror and say, hey, you didn't do so well today. You need to apologize to somebody, or maybe you didn't keep this goal to yourself, because you got to love yourself and keep those goals to yourself first. But tomorrow you're going to do better. My friend Nikki Noto Palmer says progress over perfection. And I love it every single day. And one thing I do want to just look, we say some negative things and things that happen in our battles and our crusades. But the beautiful part of it is to call it the Hispanic culture, is just the beauty of it. I had somebody text me the other day and say, your culture, it's a friend of mine from the radio world, is so beautiful. I wish I was Latin. And I said, I know. I said, we are full of life, and we're loud, and we're amazing, and we love family, and we're warm, and we're all those things. And those are some of the things I love about being Hispanic. What about you?
Right. I mean, that's the thing, is I think that I remember there was this guy, and he's like a big, publisher and this and that. And he said to me, he was like, you've got like a lot of swagger for a white girl. And I said, that's my Latina showing. And he was like, you're half Latin? And I was like, yes. So there's so much passion, and there's so much, we just love aggressively, that's just it. It's just, but, and not to be like Christianese, because, I get bored with Christianese, but that's how, the Lord loves us aggressively.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so that is that, just unapologetically, eat, drink, come here. You know what I mean? It's similar to even Italians, it's just like, come, eat, and it's just very passionate. It's vibrant. And I don't hate to say it. It's sensual, and it's sexy, and there is such, and nothing is wrong with that. And so that is my favorite, to be able to embrace that, the curves that I have, that most, you look and it's like, oh no, I'm not going to fit in that size 4 because I have this, and I know I look like I will, but I will not, you know what I mean? I just won't, So I love the curves, and I love the passion, and I love the color, and I love the faith, and the undeniable connection with family. And it's a loyalty, which is incredible.
It's so true. So you said a couple of things that were great. One time, years ago, I had somebody that was in the sportscasting business say to me, Rachel, you'll get along a lot better. You'll make it a lot farther if you tone down your wardrobe, more neutrals, less loud. Try to be a little bit, tone down your personality. And I went home for a little bit and received it. And then I went, no, absolutely not. This is who I am. Like you said, God made us and we're beautiful. Whatever it is you believe, we believe in God. He made you. You're beautiful. You're perfect. He knew the hairs on your head before you were even born. He didn't and doesn't make mistakes. So there's that. I love the comparison that you made to the Italian culture. I went to Sicily a couple of years ago and found it to be very much like the Latin culture. They just live so big. They squeeze every last drop out of life. And I absolutely love it. So there's that too. And you know what? Look, we know how to take a great nap. We know how to work, how to eat, how to do those things. I had a cousin who had cystic fibrosis, Leah, and she got a double lung transplant. And I'm going somewhere with this. She got a double lung transplant and woke up and she had an undeniable desire for spicy foods. Turns out, and there's a term for this, and I've got to find it, but turns out the lungs that she got were for a Latin cop that was killed in the line of action in Miami. And she woke up, it's in our DNA, it's in our cells of who we are. I remember the first time that I got to go to Mexico and be in Cuernavaca, Mexico. And I was in a little courtyard and some beautiful, Spanish music was playing. And I just, in my soul, I may not have knew the language I was trying to learn, but somewhere you could have put a blindfold on me, Leah, and taken me all over the world. And I would have known, my soul would have known that I was home.
Right. Right. It is. It's an intoxicating culture, and it's an intoxicating way of being. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to represent and share, a part of it. I'm grateful that, my dad embraced it as much as he has embraced it. It wasn't like, oh no, we're not. We're white, it's like he knows more about the vaquero history than even me and my mom know. He just knows. And so I'm grateful to be able to celebrate that passion and celebrate that culture and to be bringing light to it. It's an incredible thing, and it's an honor.
Okay. So before I ask you about your self-care, because we do that before we let our guests go, what else would you like? We're going to link all your media. We're going to link everything you have in the show notes. But I know there are many people that are watching this that are like, I'm a brand new fan of this girl, or I've already loved her and I love her more. What else do you want to put out in the world before we finish this episode?
I think self-care is a constant, I don't even know the word. It's not a battle, but it's a constant ever changing of learning how to constantly love yourself, because we're constantly growing, and constantly different things are hitting us and can trigger us in different ways, So for me, I try being the operative word. I try to go to bed every night and just forget all of the things that happened during the day. If I wasn't good enough, if I ran off at the mouth, if I, whatever, because that happens. I ain't gonna lie. Those type of things, and just forgive myself, and also forgive the people that may not even have known that they offended me or triggered me, because we can carry that into the next day,
Yes.
And then just say, thank you for where I am right now, for the blessings that I have right now, even if it is. And I learned that because, my dad is a very strong cowboy. He is the man, and I'm a lot like my dad. So we butt heads. We have an incredible relationship. He's extremely loving and extremely sensitive, but he's still the man, And, we would get in fights. We still get in fights, and I would be like, Mom, I cannot stand him, and she would say, think about one thing that you love about your father until that emotion passes. So my dad has these incredible hands, like they're huge. They can fix anything. They're big and workers' hands, but they're still really soft. And so I would always focus on how much I love my father's hands. So that's what I try and do is even if it's one little thing, like, thank God today that my sheets are clean, until that moment goes by to where you can actually be really grateful for all the other things and see outside of that. And then in the morning, I try and do kind of the same thing. And you'll notice that your attitude the next day is changed.
Yeah. Is if you could leave something with our viewers as they go along their week this week, you've just left some amazing nuggets in the time that we've had together, but is there anything else that you would leave with them as they start to focus on their week ahead? Because you have made a beautiful career for yourself. You're a force of nature. You're a beautiful human being, not only on the outside, but on the inside. And so I'm curious, I know there are people that are sitting here watching this and saying, I want to take something from her. What would that be, Leah?
What I would say, lean into your imperfections because they may be, you may see them as imperfections, but they're really what makes you different. So lean into those and embrace them and just love the skin that God, the universe, whatever you want to say, I say Jesus, the Lord God, whatever, that skin that he gave you, because if you love you,
yes,
it's going to shine through. And don't be so hard on yourself because we all, I don't know if I can say this and you can bleep it out and I can say it again, but we're all assholes. We all suck at times. You know what I mean? We do. But guess what? There's grace and there's forgiveness and we're all loved. And so just lean into your differences and rock what God gave you and stand in your truth.
I love it. And I teared up again for like the fourth time during our chat, because I say in the movement, more people are drawn to you from your imperfections than they ever were your perfections.
Yes.
And so when I stopped being a slave to perfection, when I started to show my real and authentic self in my socials, my talks, everything that I do, my writing, all of it, people were like, I prayed you through your mama's death. I prayed you through you being on the floor. I really love that, you have dimples on the back of your legs and you're not perfect and that you dance in the kitchen and you're a messy cook. And that sometimes you, like you said, we, go off at the mouth and say, and so I just, one of my greatest wishes for people, and I think you would probably say the same thing, is for people to, and it's myself, it's a daily battle, is to throw off this kind of albatross of perfectionism and say, screw you. I mean, I know it's double birds. We're both bleeping out things here, but to perfection, because it really, it's the thief of joy, that in comparison.
It is. So rock on with your perfectly imperfect self.
Oh, you are the best. You are the best.
I appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. Now, like, I've cried, I've laughed. She's played for us. So all of her information, we will link her. It'll be all in the show notes. Please give her a follow, because she is somebody out in this world. She's a queen that is living authentically and beautifully out loud in her own skin. And she's making the world a better place for you. Pink, purple, black, white, young, old, male, female, whatever, whoever. She's by having this voice and making a place for all of us. She is she's advocating for all of us. And so, Leah, so appreciate you, my dear. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. God bless you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.